So our next presentation will be by Rethabile Possa-Mogoera from Cape Town, South Africa, and focusing on bad names given to some illegitimate children among the Basotho and how stigmatizing they can be. The floor is yours, Rethabile.
Thank you very much to the organizing committee. Thank you, Prof. And Marinella, you are always the best to keep us together. I know we could be there had it not been because of COVID. And you know, I'll be there singing Tavira, hey, Tavira. Unfortunately, here I am sitting in my house. For the interest of those who do not know where I'm coming from, I am from University of Cape Town, which is in South Africa. And I would be talking about a bad name is an OMEN, which focuses on the Basotho Proverbs, which is one society that is in South Africa and in the small country called Lesotho. I think we all know that Africans do not just give a name for the sake of giving a name, but most of the time the name is given due to circumstances that transpired when the child was born. And Basotho happened to have, it's not only Basotho, because that's why we have it in English as well, a Sotho proverb that indicates or shows that giving a name, it's not just an act, but it has some meaning. So naming in Sesotho is both a cultural and a linguistic phenomenon. The meaning attached to names by Basotho plays a significant role in the definition of personhood, because it is believed that a given name does not only serve as an identity, but also determines the type of a person the individual will be. So the purpose of this presentation is to question the very existence of the proverb, Sesotho proverb, which indicates that a bad name is an omen, which we shall see. That if Basotho knew very well that by giving a child or naming a child a bad name, that name will follow this child wherever or as long as they live.
It's 14
Why
hours.
would they name the child or give a child that kind of a name? So who are the name givers? Because it's very important also to know who gives names. The elders normally follow a certain traditional criterion to give names. So it's elders that give names. They can name a child after people, probably relatives, or as a result of a happening, or just a name that can be found appropriate depending on what is happening at that particular time. So this proverb that we're talking about, or the proverb in question, is called Lebitso lebe seromo, which I've translated as a bad name is omnious. Before I come to methodology, what is a name according to Basotho? One's name is supposed to be music to one's ears, and knowing and calling one by the name reveals the importance of one to the society as a unique and valuable individual. A name is one way of registering existence in the country, in the village, in the workplace, and in the family. This then suggests that it must be a good name, a meaningful one, and one appreciated and understood by the society as well as the name bearer. On the similar note, Tarlok says a name is a word by which an individual, person, animal, or things is known or spoken of. Sohoba says a name can shape a person's character. mold their social identity, and even influence their destiny. The meaning attached to a name will determine much about the present and the future of a child. One can often infer someone's socio-cultural aspects from their name, their ethnicity, their gender, but also their day or date of birth, their family's occupation, their social, political class, their religion or deities they follow. On the same note, Guma, when defining a Sesotho name, says, Basotho believe that a name has an influence on the character of the bearer. Hence, they have this proverb, Lebitso, lebe, seromo. So, in order to respond to the question of this research, data was collected through unstructured interviews. And the interviews were done to 120 individuals who are actually the name bearers under discussions. Telephonic interviews were also made to the participants that were not physically available. Even observations, as I am a member of this community. So, in order to answer or to respond to the question as well, I used two theories, which is onomastics, which is the discipline which seeks to answer the semiological question, why is X called X? That means why this name? This fundamental question may be understood in two ways, as a linguistic and a historic one. Why and how did X to be called X? And as essentially a historical or cultural one, why does it mean for X to be X? So this theory is going to help me to be able to analyze why was X called X. Another one that I adopted for this study was critical discourse analysis. Why did I use this one? Because I noticed that they give us, or those who name were adults. And most of the time, they use their power in society to oppress or to express themselves by giving names to the powerless. That is social group, which is these children who do not know or who did not plan to be alive and carry that kind of a name. So before I even come to them, you find that it has been, or Basotho use names to do so many things. The mother-in-law in particular would express her dissatisfaction by giving a child the name that passes the message to the daughter-in-law. Now this is where the critical discourse analysis chips in. If the husband does not trust that the child is his, he would tell his mother, and his mother would give a name that would question the father of the child. The accusations or dissatisfactions against the daughter-in-law were demonstrated through naming of the baby. So now I'm moving to the analysis, which is now the names that are given to the children. I'll first of all start with what we call illegitimate child. Illegitimate child, according to Hannah, were unwelcomed, ostracized, often abandoned or killed by their mothers because they were scared of the stigma that comes with the illegitimate child. Most of the time, you would find that illegitimate children are given nasty names, as you can see from here. These children are sometimes named by the mother of a child or a daughter who has given a child or who became pregnant and want unplanned pregnancy. You find that they are the ones who names these children. As you can see, Reboka Mang, who do we praise? They are questioning here, who's the father? Or Muramang, whose son? Mutsekai, which village does the father come from? Swakai, where from? Rebutsamang, who do we ask? Haritibi, we do not know. Now, the child has to carry this kind of names, and they grow up with this kind of names. And everybody who hears this name already knows that the child is in question. Already, they can see that this is an illegitimate child. This child was not planned. But is this the mistake of the child? Not at all. But the child grows up with this kind of a name. I move to names that suggest that the child is unwelcome. Most of the time, yes, these children are born in marriage, but then the mother-in-law or the father questions their existence because of not trusting the mother, or the mother-in-law not being in good terms with the daughter-in-law. But now the child has to carry this name. Dipapang, somebody who has brought conflicts into the house. Sometimes you find that the husband did not want the child, but then the wife had a child, and it brings lots of conflicts in where? In the family. Same as Motalindwa. These people were good, were okay until the baby was born. Sometimes they were not even married yet, but now there is a pregnancy, they have to get married. Now this is where there is that war that could be between the two families. Botada, problem. This child is named Problem Botada because now there is a problem between the couple because of the birth of this child. The hupiso, annoyance. So this child is absolutely not welcome, but rather, ever since the child has been in this family, there's just been annoyance. Twice silly. You are not welcome. You are a nonsense in this family. We did not want you. Why are you here? It's just a thing. There's nothing important about this child. Muhanua or Nganua, which we will also see later. We do not want this child. And most of the time, like I said, the mother-in-law want to settle a score. Probably sometimes the mother-in-law wanted her son to marry someone else. But now the son loves this woman. Now the child is the one who is going to carry this name of being rejected, Muhanua. But in actual fact, the message is going to the mother that we do not want to hear. You are not welcome here. You are a nonsense here. You are a problem here. We wanted someone else. Same as Sarah, enemy. So this woman is an enemy in here because the mother-in-law does not like her. But then who carries that name? It's the child. Mufirefere. Sometimes when this child was born, there was a lot of chaos in the family. Seromo, a curse. We know we always say children are blessings, but some, it's not always the case. This one is called a curse because was not welcome in this family. There are also names signifying the location where the child was conceived. You can just imagine when you are named this name, that shows you were unplanned child. You were born in the bushes. You were born out of the wedlock somewhere where it's inappropriate. Matlakala, garbage. Matonako, somebody has been picked from the streets. Mahukuluto, something that you gather from the street. Mohlabaneng, this is where people go who do not have toilets, relieve themselves. You can imagine how nasty the place is. In the bush. This is exactly like Mohlabaneng, where people relieve themselves who do not have toilets. We still have people in Africa who do not have toilets, and they go to these places. Masimung, it's in the fields. We also have names showing surprise. They were not, these children were not expected. A girl felt pregnant and hid from the parents. Now, the child is born, they name the child Makadi saying, Nzoti saying, because they did not know their daughter was pregnant or did not even expect this. But then who carries the name? The unborn or the baby who does not know anything. Names showing doubts about the child. This is mostly where it's in married couples where the mother-in-law, maybe after being told by the son that I'm not sure if this is my baby, then it's remarked, we are surprised. We have doubts about this child. You know what? We did not expect this. Sometimes you find that, yes, the father had gone in the mines, and when he comes back, he's told you have a child, and they now, this is where it's like, how come? No, I'm surprised, I was not there. No, this couldn't be, this can't be my child. Names ridiculing the mother. This is when the child is born out of the wedlock, and probably the mother still goes to school, and the parents of the mother are not happy about the pregnancy. Then they name this child the spoiled one. In actual fact here, the spoiled one is actually, or destroyed one is the mother, because they believe that now you have, the expectation is for their daughter to get married, but now the daughter has made a child out of the wedlock, and to parents, this is an embarrassment. Therefore, they express their dissatisfaction to the child by naming the child what? The spoiled one or the destroyed one. We have names also that indicate that the child was abandoned after the birth. Could be the mother left the child, some leave them in the streets or just by the door or hospital somewhere. Those children are given the names based on where they were, or that abandonment, or Molahua. So already when people hear these names, they know that this child was abandoned or lost by their parents. So obviously, whoever is or raising these children are adopted. So when interviewing the name bearers, most of them proved that a bad name is an omen. Some indicated that they believe that they could be better people in the society, but because of the names they were given, for example, one of them was Matakala, who said, I have been jumping from one place to another with no future because of the name trash or garbage that I was given. I believe that if I was given a proper name like any other children, I could have become somebody better in the society. Some of them said, I've been in prison in and out because I am named Ntwaisele, a nonsense. What would you expect out of a nonsense? Obviously, nothing but a nonsense. And most of them expressed so much anger to their parents, some of which the parents indicated that they were powerless because the mother-in-law had powers to name their children whatever name, and they could not even question why their children were given such names because it would be inappropriate according to Basotho culture. They were supposed to accept the names that are given to their children, whether it was a way of the mother-in-law expressing their anger or dissatisfaction, but they had nothing but to accept such names. Some of these mothers said, I had my name that I gave my child after my child being given this name. But unfortunately, I could not use it with the same name, you know, the in-law same name. I had to use the same name. But I said to my daughter, when you are at the age where you feel like you can change your name, then you can do so, because they were feeling like they also did not like the name that they were given. Now, this is where the oppression is seen by our society. This is where you see that the names were used as a weapon to oppress the powerless. And unfortunately, people who suffered in the whole battle or conflicts were children who do not know anything, who did not plan to be alive or to be born in, whether conflicts between marriages or conflicts between mother-in-law, or whether the mother-in-law wanted their son to marry a certain. They had no hand in that, but they are the one who suffer the consequences. So the question still comes, if Basotho knew that the proverb that says, "Biso libiki seromo," or a bad name is an omen, why then would they give children such names if the intention was not to destroy the name bearers? So this paper concludes that, or it has proved that, yes, indeed, this proverb that says, "Lebitso libiki seromo," is indeed true, as many lives of the name bearers have been destroyed, and they believe that the name is behind their unsuccess in life, their misery in life. They believe they could have been better members of the society had it not been because of these names. And I want to assure you that even today, in the 21st century, there are babies that are still given this kind of names by Basotho. Some of them, they are saying they want to continue the legacy because they are great, or their aunt, the aunt who passed on was named Ntwaisili. Therefore, that name has to be carried over into the next generation. But they are not aware that these names are really destroying their name bearers. This is the end of my conclusion, my presentation. I thank you all.
Thank you, Rethabile, for your very interesting presentation on such a serious issue. I lived many years in Mozambique, and the same problem existed. Here are two questions from the audience. So OT asks, do individuals get several names, one after another, during their life? And also Finula asks whether such names are given equally to both sons and daughters, or are they different names?
When the child is born, is given, depending on whether the child is born in marriage, you'll find that there's a name that's coming from the maternal side, and there's another name that comes from paternal side. But the one that dominates is usually the paternal side one, because that's where the legacy has to be carried over. But if the child is born out of the wedlock, you find that it's just one name that is from the maternal side. At the same time, you find that some people change their names based to the very same thing that I said, that the mother, I think 3 mothers said, we decided to give our children better names, that we said, you can use this name to call yourself other than using this name, because some of them were complaining that they are being harassed by learners, other learners at schools because of their names. And even teachers sometimes, when they reprimand them, they use this name that, hence your family gave you this name, you are nothing but nonsense. So that is where they find that they change and take a different name. But one usually has one name.
Thank you, Rethabile, once again.